So, Mr. Glover, first of all, thank you so much for being here today in Italy. Is it your first time here in Italy?
This is the first time in Bellaria.
In Bellaria.
I've been to Italy many times, but as a tourist. No, I've made one film in Rome once, but I've never worked here, no. I've been a tourist here, gone to Venice and Florence and Rome, you know how it is. That's my experience of Italy, except for now.
Great. I'm very excited because for me it's like to be right in front of a piece of my childhood. Indiana Jones, Star Wars, and so many others.
I've been a very lucky actor, very lucky. My main work is theatre. I became an actor to work in the theatre, and gradually films and television have introduced themselves. When I first started, television was very quiet, and so you only did theatre. But then television began to take over, and then films. And I was very lucky with my very first film, a film called Tom Jones, with Albert Finney, which is, I recommend anyone who likes England and the English silly history to see this film. That was my first, and I've been terribly lucky to be in these big franchises that you talk about. I'm lucky because it's, I don't know if you know the word, I'm sure some of your listeners, your viewers will, it's from nepotism, which is, it's not what you know, but who you know. And getting into Star Wars and Indiana Jones was nepotism, because somebody I knew. And, but I don't mind admitting that, I did the films.
Great. So, but why did you become an actor in the first place?
We have some time?
Yeah, we have. As much as you want.
I was a young boy, 15 at school, and I went to a new school for reasons I needn't discuss. And the young English master there had just come from university and was very enthusiastic. But the school I went to was built and founded by a very famous Shakespearean actor of Shakespeare's time, a man called Edward Alleyn. So the school was called Alleyn's College. And we did a production there. I'd never done any acting before, ever in my life, of the play by William Shakespeare called Julius Caesar, set, as you know, in Rome. And I played the wonderful part of Mark Antony, which was a tremendously exciting show-off role. And that was, I couldn't believe it was such a wonderful thing to do. Then the next term I did an operetta by some people called Gilbert and Sullivan, who were very, very famous operetta writers in the end of the 19th century. And in that I had some funny things to do, and I came home after that and said to my parents, this is what I want to do. Because I knew for the first time, and maybe the last time, what it was to hold an audience here and for them to love me. Probably the last time, but it's been a long time since then. And that's how I started off becoming an actor. I then went to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, but only for half a year, 1 year out of 3, because we couldn't afford for me to stay any longer. And then I went into the army, and then went out into the world. I wrote 100 letters to different people. I got 2 replies, and I followed the replies, got a small job and an agent. And that's how it began in 1955. No, 55. Yeah, 55. That's how it began, my career. As I say, very late to start. My wife knew she wanted to be an actor from when she could think. And so did my first wife. So I'm a change in our family. My son is also an actor and director. So we talk about a lot of theatre. So I say I'm primarily a theatre actor, but getting these I've done over 70 films. I've been in over 70 films, not playing the leading parts in them, which I'm quite proud of. But this last 30 years have been very rich for me with the big films. And so it started off with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade. What was the one after that? Oh, then I did the Bond film, For Your Eyes Only. Then I did Game of Thrones. I've been lucky. But I hope I've been lucky because I'm good. I hope this is the case.
Lucky but good, yes. Do you think acting, but also the role of the actor itself, has changed during the years?
It's a very difficult question to answer, you know, because so much has changed within the theatre, within television. The job of acting has not changed. The job, the work has not changed. Because what you have to do is to bring out the elements of someone else and show them to an audience, either on screen or in the theatre. But the way of doing that does change with the times. Even the way you speak your language, even in my time, the language, the pronunciation of the language has changed. 30 years before that, it was changed. 40 years before that, it was different. So actors from the only recordings we have, middle of the 1800s, speak in a completely different way from how we speak now. So that has changed, but that's nothing to do with the actor himself. But the style of how people want things presented, that has changed. Shakespeare was, in the middle of the 19th century, was all, and people think, oh, this is very, today, they think that's very boring. Well, they're quite right, it is very boring. So we bring our very modern lives, the way we live our life, onto the stage, even with Shakespeare. Shakespeare, I have to tell you, has been the centre of my life, the important centre of my life. All my years as an actor, I'm always going back to Shakespeare. And only two of his plays I have not played in, been in. Not leading parts always, but been in. Only 2 plays out of 36. And so that's quite a record. I don't think I'm going to complete it. I don't think those 2 plays will come. Not in my lifetime.
This is incredible. Even talking about acting, how do you prepare yourself for a given role?
Well, it rather depends what the job is, you know. If I'm playing King Lear, I think your viewers will know that play, won't they? That's the biggest. So the biggest play that Shakespeare ever wrote, biggest emotional play, not the biggest play. I suppose the history plays are bigger on the stage. Well, what I do, and I hope I have some time beforehand, I read many different editions of the play. There are several different versions, but it's slightly different. And I then choose which version I prefer, which comes best from my mouth and out of my head. That's the first thing. Then I start to read about how it was first performed. People I've never seen, of course, because they were born 400 years ago, and even I am not that old. And then, having discovered or found the people who played it, and the modern people who played it, and remembering the modern people I have seen who have played it, great actors, fine actors, I then put all that away, all that knowledge that's in there, but I put it all away and start to read the play. And I find the meaning I can from the play. That is Shakespeare. If I'm doing a historical character, one who existed, who really did exist, if it's a good part, a reasonable part, I will read all about that person. and hope I get it right. If I'm doing a character from a book, no film or television series has ever used all of a book. I've done several Charles Dickens adaptations for television, and always there is something you have to leave out. So I plan not to read the book at all, only the script that comes to me. So that then it's just the script I'm doing. I'm not informed by anything else because those things, the other things, are not in the script. So I find it very destructive to read the book, unless I know the book, in which case I am so difficult, because I will be saying to the director all the time, no, but this isn't in the book, it says, no, but you've forgotten that so-and-so. It's not in the book, Julian. It's not in the script. No, it's not in the script. It's not in the script. Okay. To play many of the Indiana Jones, people say he's a villain, you know. Well, for me it's no good just saying I'm a villain. That's not helpful. But nobody thinks he's a villain. Hitler didn't think he was a villain. Mussolini, very good in many ways. He was a villain, but he didn't think he was. He thought he was doing the right things. So Indiana Jones, I challenge you and all your viewers, what would you do for the secret of eternal life?
This is a very good question.
You would kill your mother. Don't laugh, you would. You'd think about it. Well, I've known my mother for 30 years now. I think I could do without my mother. I'll have the secret of eternal life instead. Now, what he does wrong is by using bad methods, getting money from the Nazis, which means that he's supporting the Nazis, although he doesn't really support them, he just wants the money to do it. That's where he makes his mistake. Then he makes his final mistake. Yes, that was a mistake. But the same with the Bond film, For Your Eyes Only. The man I play in that is called a villain. But in fact, he was a recognizable human being. He was someone who was paying for a young woman to go through the Olympics. He wanted her to win the Olympics at skating. So he wanted all the money he could. His mistake was that he would do anything to get that, and he would take money from Russia. Bad thing to do. Foolish thing to do. Not evil, but he would do anything to get it. So of course he employed people who would shoot, and even the people who would shoot are not evil. They're doing what they're told. You see, an actor, well, I think an actor has to think all that through, so he knows what he's doing when he's actually on the screen, actually being photographed. So he knows that all the things he is doing are for a reason, not just because they're in the script. That's the short answer to your question. I could go on for months. We do, in the theatre, we talk about the process and the mechanics of acting all the time. Actors trying to unravel the mystery. What is the thing that makes one particular film so successful and another one with all the good things in it, all the famous actors, wonderful photographer, wonderful scenery, good story, doesn't work? What is that thing? It's that button that somebody presses to make it a success. Nobody knows. If we knew, we'd all be millionaires.
This is very incredible.
And it's the same with acting. But actors are all a matter of people's taste. I know there are many actors who think I'm a good actor. Many people who think I'm a good actor. There are many people who think I'm shit. Because it's the same with me. I know other actors think he's brilliant, he's wonderful, he can't act at all. That's my opinion. You have your opinions about actors. You have your favourite actors. Why are they favourite? Not just because they're beautiful, because sometimes they are, but sometimes they're not at all beautiful, and they're still your favourite actors. You just love to watch them. Peter Dinklage. That man. I would die for him. He's a wonderful, wonderful actor.
You died
And
for
I
him in
hope
Game of
he's going-
Thrones.
What?
You died for him in Game of Thrones.
I'm hoping he will be sitting on the throne at the end. I hope that Peter Dinklage, that he's there.
I hope too.
Yes, and Tyrion is there, little legs. That's what I'm hoping.
It will be funny.
Anyway, sorry.
Still talking about acting, what's the difference between acting in a TV series like Game of Thrones or in a great movie like Star Wars?
No difference. No difference. It's just, what is different? Because a television series is shot like a film now, all the same process. You do it in short pieces, you do it in small scenes, you can do it again and again and again, but you can't in the theatre. If you make a mess of a scene in the theatre, you've made a mess of it. And you can't do it, you can't say sorry to the audience, we'll do that scene again. You can't do that. There's no difference between, there's a difference between theatre and television and film, of course. Because in the theatre, it's only you. You hope you're helped by your costume and your lights, and the other actors you hope will help you. You hope you will help them. And you hope that you engage the audience. And if the audience is engaged, you know what I mean by the word engaged, they're caught, they will help you. They don't know they are, but they will help you. Because you know you have their trust, and you can do what you want. And most of the people in the theatre are there because they want to be there. And they want you to be good. They don't go to the theatre thinking, I want this to be bad. They go, I hope Julian Glover is going to be good this evening. And if he's not, they're very disappointed. But if he is, they're really pleased because they've been given a proper theatrical experience. And for my money, the theatre experience is the greatest you can have in all entertainment, dancing, opera, the theatre experience. It can be films can be wonderful. I'll give you a big example of this. You know that in London there are 2 plays, Harry Potter plays in the theatre, which are brilliant plays, absolutely brilliant plays. They're also on in New York at the moment. And no doubt in time will travel all over the world. My son was in these plays 2 years ago, for 1 year, playing Harry Potter. And I'd seen Harry Potter films, and in any magic film, you go, ooh, that was a fantastic piece of magic, but you know it's film, and in film you can do anything. Now, on stage, you've got to do it for real. You have to have proper magic. So I'm talking to you at the front of the stage, there's the audience, I'm talking to you, and you turn into somebody else as I'm talking to you. No cuts, no light changing, you change into someone else. Now that is magic, real magic. And for my money, it's stage experience, because you really do go, how the fuck did they do that? Somebody goes off the sets this side and immediately comes on here. Not a double actor, we know that old trick. Not a double, him. It's not possible, but it is possible. Now that for me, the theatrical experience of that is more, well, it's almost sexually stimulating. It's so wonderful, so wonderful. But I love the Harry Potter films. I love all the Star Wars, fantastic. But the films, you couldn't do Star Wars in a theatre.
No, I think it is impossible. It would be impossible. Yeah.
Anyway, I talk and talk. I talk to you.
You could talk for a day long. We could stay here.
There were ever a moment in that you thought, okay, it's enough, I'm gonna quit.
Oh, what?
I'm gonna quit to acting. I'm gonna leave acting.
So, when I found it, this sounds very, But I was born to be an actor. I know I was. I found it at 15, and I'm quite an intelligent thing. I think I could have done something else. I don't know what. Probably been a rather bad writer. Both my parents were journalists, and very successful ones. So I'm good with words, but not like they were. I found acting at 15, and I knew that that was it. And that however badly I might do it, this is what I'm here for. And whether you enjoy my work is another matter. This is what I know that this is what I'm here for. And not all actors are like this, but some might say, I suppose if I had 10 years with not working, or less than that, if I had to do something else, I would try to find something else. Too late now, of course, but during my career, I suppose I could have found something. But it's never entered my head to do anything else. And my wife, and my first wife, and my son are exactly the same. It is absolutely concentrated theatre, trying to explain, explore, discover, endure, become part of the extraordinary thing that a human being is. And because it is extraordinary, I mean, it is. Every single part you play is completely different from everybody else, anything else. You are completely different from her. And so if I have to act one or the other, I have to try to get inside you. And this is sometimes a wonderful process, sometimes very painful. But that's what we do. And so the short answer to your question is, I could never quit.
This is great, really great.
Did you imagine that Game of Thrones, but also Star Wars, would have become the mediatic bomb that they are today? The mediatic bomb, a great such as...
I don't know what the question is.
So, could you imagine, when you accept your role in Game of Thrones,
yes,
that it would have become so important for the fans all around the world?
Sorry.
No problem.
It's my hearing.
No, it's me.
No, it's not your phone. It's not your English. Well, you see, I thought that I became less and less important as the series progressed. I was quite important at the beginning. Okay, I'll tell you. After about 2 weeks of sitting at that long table, saying silly things and farting, I went to the writers and said, you know, I'm a better actor than this. You must give me something more to do. Give me something. I didn't know what to stand on. You understand the expression? I was just wavering in the mud. I think it was all right, but it was just there. And 2 days later, they came up with the answer, which was what I hoped they would come to, which is that I was not just a doddery old man, but in fact, in my private life, as you know, I'm quite strong and still good with women, and everything else. But that was my pretense. The way I get through life is by pretending to be. That's the way. So, although they didn't show that very often, I knew what I was. I was standing firmly on a piece of ground which I knew and nobody else did, except once Tyrion found it, and then later, in a scene I did in Dubrovnik with Tywin, a scene when he says, I can see what you're doing. What are you doing? What are you doing? Have you seen this scene? No. He's fishing, and I come with some message, and he turns and he says, what are you doing with your life? I can see you're cheating. And so I realise that he's got me, so I stand up full, straight, and I tell him, Well, I'm now 102, I'm going to die soon, but I don't want to die like everybody else does. I want to be honoured for what I've done for this country, and this is why I'm doing this, what I do. And he goes, oh, okay. So he now knows, okay, but he still makes me carry the fish back to the house, and it's still very insulting, but he now knows. And that was a reminder to the audience of what I am. They cut the scene. They cut the scene out of the series. I was furious. Furious. I said, I've been working for you for 5 years. You've done this to me. This one scene, which really shows what he is. Oh, I'm sorry, it was for time. I said, time, there was plenty of bloody time for you to include this scene. And you can still see it. You can see it on television. We call them outtakes, but you can see scenes which are not included in the final show. And you can see that scene. And if you see that scene, you'll know why I was angry about this. And so I gave them a lot of trouble until the end of the series, when I got that wonderful death. I had a very good death. Very good death. The irony was that I was the oldest character in the series, by this time 105, 7, and I was killed by children. Have you seen it? Yeah, killed by children, which is really ironic. The old man killed by a lot of children. Very good death.
What about Star Wars?
Did you imagine that Empire would have become so important and so loved by the fans?
Well, obviously I was asked to do, it's nepotism again, this thing of who you know, it's the same person, Robert Watts, he was executive producer on Star Wars. They'd made the first film and we'd all gone, wow, we'd seen nothing like it. We'd seen adventure films in the air, but nothing like that. It opened up, as we know, there are now thousands of things like that. And one afternoon I was in the garden, and my friend who lived next door put his head over and said, hello, we're going to make another Star Wars movie. Do you want to be in it? I said, yeah, thank you. Very nice. So I did that one, 5 days only, small part, but quite important.
Yeah.
They wanted me to be in the next one too, but I wasn't free, so they cut the character, which was sad. I'd like to have done the second one. From that, I got Indiana Jones, the same producer, my next door neighbour, who suggested me for the part of the nasty sergeant in that. The German Nazi sergeant. And I didn't get that, which I was very disappointed about, but I did get Walter Donovan, which is a much better part, so I was well pleased. Okay, Star Wars. 5 days only. Like all us Imperial officers in the old films, we just all had 5 days. Very bad money. It was quite fun to do, quite boring. Sort of standing about, looking nice in a uniform like this. Very nice in a uniform. Have you been on it all the time?
Yes.
Oh my God, that poor man. And I was lucky in that, I say, in that film, that I had that conversation with Darth Vader, and that I had the Battle of Hoth. And the Battle of Hoth was quite funny, actually. Oh, God. We filmed it on the top of what we call a gantry. It's like a great crane in the middle of the air, with a blue screen behind me, with a pretend control panel here, and they moved me about quite a lot. And I did the scene, and I didn't know what I was driving until I saw the film. I saw the film and God, it's that giraffe! That's what I was driving all this time. But there's a good story there, because the stuff I had to say in that scene was such rubbish. I mean, it was invented talk, control talk, invented for Star Wars, and quite difficult to learn because it didn't really make much sense. But I did learn it, and I was very good indeed. But there was one word, one speech I couldn't remember, and I went 16 takes on it. 16 takes. I was so ashamed. And the line was, and all your viewers will understand why it was so difficult, why I went 16 times on this line, was target the main generator.
Yes, it was.
It is so important, so fundamental.
You know the story. Yeah, but it's absolutely true. And
16.
when I got the line right at the end, the whole studio, and I was dreading them saying the lighting was wrong. And from that film, actually, Irving Kershner was the director of that film, and he was terrific. And he was a great theatre goer, so he loved theatre actors, and he came to see me in many things I did in London after that, and we were very fond of him. He's a very sad loss, but then we're all a sad loss when we go, aren't we? I hope we are.
Mr. Glover, we would like to thank you for your time, for your words.
Really, thank you. It means a lot for all the Star Wars fans.
Here in Italy, first of all, yes. Yeah.
First of all, the two of us.
Well, here I am.
Thank you so much. It's great.
It is a one of a lifetime experience, really. Yeah.
Been a long life. Been a long life. I've been, as I say, very lucky, very lucky. First, I was blessed with a good voice, which, I mean, that is a blessing. My son has it too,
Yeah.
and I know it is, and thank you for that. The rest of me, my body is a bit awkward. I'm not good at dancing, and I'm quite good at singing, but I'm not a naturally fluid actor. I'm just a lump of stuff on the stage.
Yeah, but don't worry, we could listen to you for weeks and months. Yeah.
Okay.
We can close. Would you tell to the fan to target the main generator once again?
Target the main generator.
Thank you.
Thank you, really.